Hey guys, it's Denise with Family Canine Training here in Orlando. We got your live weekly Q&A show. All right. So welcome if you're a replay viewer. Thanks for watching. We've got Katie on tonight too. So whenever she comes up on board, we'll add her in. The topic for tonight is habits. So good old habits. We have good habits. We have bad habits. So we don't have to stick to that topic. You can ask us anything, but that's going to be the topic that we're going to start with tonight. So I was trying to go live on the desktop, and that sure as heck didn't work. So
it's working. We're on here.
It's mobile.
Oh, well. So now we know we just can't do the desktop.
Yeah, unless we get some kind of like software or whatever. Now, clearly, we don't have that down pat yet.
Oh, well.
So I had a nice title and could have, posted on mobile, blah, blah, blah. So you guys on the replay can fast forward through the rant. It is what it is. So I introduced the topic of it being, habits. So what is a habit? Obviously something that, it's regularly practiced, right? Whether it's good or bad. So it pertains a lot to our dogs because our habits, we tend to impose on them a lot. They live with us, and they've got to go through life with us. So it does affect them quite a bit. Wouldn't you agree?
Well, and we can, if we teach them a behavior over and over and over and kind of pattern that, then it becomes a habit for them. And they just
Right.
do it, default without thinking about it. So just like, like our habits, you probably don't think about whatever it is that you have as a habit. You don't have to sit down and think about, I'm going to do this. It just happens automatically. So, helping dogs form good habits takes time. And you and I have talked, that's why we do, like a lifestyle change when the dogs go home from board and train. Hey, Elias, how you doing? Because it builds a habit. And if the owners do that stuff for a good long amount of time, a certain number of days, the dog will actually form a habit out of it. And, they'll start doing those behaviors without even being told. And that's something that we want. We want our dogs to, do that stuff. And maybe we can talk about some of those habits, some of those things that we want to pattern in a dog.
Yeah, I like them waiting for things. So I like to pattern that in. And you see some of the stuff that you do on a daily basis, set in a short amount of time. For example, when we've come in from outside, even though I have some play inside the house because, obviously we train dogs, so there is some form of play using as a distraction inside the house at times, and the dogs can still go from outside, come inside and default to a place cot. Everybody's like, where's my place cot? And that's a habit because it's been patterned, some kind of routine where when we come in, that girl always says place, and everybody goes and looks for a cot. Or even when you talk about routine, is if you're a dog owner or whoever, obviously all of us are dog owners. What you do every day, they pick up on, which is, for example, like how come my dog, my male dog, every single day knows when he's gonna get fed right before he even sniffs it and stuff. Because he's been patterned a certain kind of way, and he sees that I do certain things, take certain steps, look a certain way, keys, shoes, you name it. Like we could get a detail with all the kind of things that we accidentally pattern that we don't want, and we pattern that things that we do want too as well. But just to like throw that in there.
Absolutely. like Pavlov's dogs. They, they hear something, they hear, maybe for you it's the refrigerator or the freezer or whatever that you're doing before you're preparing their food, and they know it's coming. They know. So
Yeah.
that's a good point too. Sometimes it's good when it's something like that and your dog starts really anticipating and it gets excited, you can vary the routine a little bit so that you kind of keep them guessing
Yeah.
when it comes to something like that. Or like if your dog always knows when you're right about to leave the house for work in the morning, you could do things just a little bit differently. Like maybe put your purse somewhere else, or, don't put your shoes on in the same place that you do every morning.
Oh no, connection. Hers or mine, I don't know. Oh, you froze there for a second.
Is it better now? I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
Everything seemed okay.
I didn't hear what you said.
I just said, you can vary up the routine a little bit, like putting on your shoes in a different place and like not leaving your purse in the same place before you leave for work, to help your dog not to anticipate, that you're right about to leave. Um,
Yeah,
just to
there's certain things you want.
change things up a little bit. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
this
there's a
thing is
lot of
lag.
different.
Yeah, it's lagging, so we're like gonna cut each other.
Oh no. Um,
Well, we'll keep going anyway. So yeah, like you were saying, but there's certain patterns like certain habits, patterns that we do want, and some that we don't. Like Max the bully that I have here, he sure knows keys. Once you pick up keys and he hears ding 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 ding, he's like already like anticipating somebody leaving. And that could
wow.
be a bad for like dogs with separation anxiety. He doesn't have that, but
Yeah.
you know, that is, falls into what we're talking about in a lot of
Yeah.
ways, the good and the bad. So let's see what else. That is like my top two, like especially, not rushing through the door. I like them just to default for waiting for everything because then they start applying it and looking for you for that guidance.
Hmm. Yeah, I wrote that down too. I wrote down place command. It's probably like the biggest thing, because what would our dogs really be doing inside? Like, what are most dog owners, they just probably don't live, structured the way some dog trainers do or the way the dogs do when they go home from board and trains. But what are they doing for the majority of the time during the day? Whether they're, if the owners are home, let's just say that, most people crate their dogs when they're gone. And then when they're home, what are the dogs doing? So they're on the sofa, a lot of them. And a
Getting
lot of times, can you still hear me?
Yeah, it just cut.
Let me see if I could change something. I might have to come back on.
So yeah, getting on the sofa, getting into things. We'll just wait till she pops back on. I mean, there.
Still there. Let's see if
Yeah.
this is any better. Okay. So most of the time the dogs are probably on people's furniture. Sometimes they don't want them on the furniture, so they're, yelling at the dogs or like pulling them down off the couch, like get off there, and or they're counter surfing in the kitchen. A lot of times they're eating, food that you either leave on the counters, or maybe you go in to your living room and you put food on the coffee table and your dog is taking it. Or it's really common for dogs to be, looking out the window and barking a lot of times.
Good
They're
one.
like they're bored, and so they're like, what can I do? And I can look out the window and look for squirrels and start barking about them. And or if you have multiple dogs, a lot of times they're horsing around like the majority of the time. So sometimes, people can't even sit down and like watch a movie because the dogs are like wrestling and making a bunch of noise and, just fooling around. And most people can't stop it. They just deal with it because they can't, there's nothing they can do. Or the dogs are like hunting, walking around the house, like hunting for little bits of food that might be dropping, or, or they're like annoying you. You're watching TV and the dog's like right in your face, like panting and wanting to go out or something like that. So that's what a lot of dogs are doing. And what would be ideal? What would we want them to do? It would be nice if at least part of the time when, maybe when you're watching TV or you're having dinner or something, that your dog could lay down on its bed quietly. And so, that's why we teach place command. So if we teach it to them like a regular routine, like every single day, they do this when we ask, then they'll do it on their own as a choice. And I've seen this with my own dogs. I taught them place, and I can let them up and let them have free roaming now, and they will go on place. They might walk around for a little while. They might like sniff things and, come say hi and whatever. And then they go and lay on place because it's comfortable and they know it. And it's that habit. So it's kind of like the best of both worlds. It's what we want, and also they're choosing it. So, once we can teach them that, I don't know. Anyway, I kind of got off track again because you were on like waiting at threshold, which I totally agree with. And I absolutely agree with, permission based and them kind of deferring to us for what should I do next, rather than just making their own choices all the time and getting into mischief. So.
Yeah, the car is a big one for me with certain dogs. So, um, for example, like my female dog, if she were to like sit up on the car ride, it might be just a tad annoying, but not so much as the other one, like, riding around in there and like getting all hyped up, so getting them into an automatic relax in the car is also something that I like for them to default to, as a habit and stuff. And um, those are like the three biggies for me, but definitely inside the house. I like for them to, even if it's not the place cat, even to go into it down and just chill out. Mine says it had 3 high drive doors. I'm pretty sure
I
he
think
means
it's supposed to say Dobermans. Yeah.
a big one. A big one. If we're left alone, they will be horsing around. Yeah, I'm pretty sure, and they love it. All 3 big high drive dogs. Dobies. You're the Doberman king. Your collection is up to 3, so it's a whole lot of kiddo.
Hello.
Hey, Rachel, welcome. Or is it Raquel?
No, it's Rachel. It's Rachel. Rachel's a good friend of mine.
What else?
So I like that too. And probably now when you just, tell your dog, like, let's go in the car, they probably automatically just lay down. You probably don't even have to say down anymore. They just know.
Yep. It's nice when the vacationers, I call vacationers, they've been previously trained and they come back and they automatically do their stuff. That's really nice. Like that means that patterning has happened at home too. And at home is very important. That's where the real magic happens.
Yeah.
Then they come back and then they do the same thing. Sometimes they may be breaking place a little bit more at home, but when they come here, they're like, yep, I know this place. This is what I have to do here. And it's like, well, I don't have that problem. So the pattern, what they're used to, the history, the relationship. I like to, get more specific instead of saying relationship, but pattern, history, habit. It's all like the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool
Yeah.
when you can just like they default and they just know. It's really, really cool. I like that.
Yeah.
What else for you?
I wrote down that I want my dogs ignoring barking dogs when we're out on walks. And that was something that I worked on a lot with my dogs in the beginning. And we just walked so often that now I don't even recognize it. But most people out on the street see it, like see us walking by. And there can be, really reactive dogs behind fences, blowing off at us, and my dogs just walk by, like they don't even look. And it's just because they know, like, we don't need to look, we're not supposed to, and we don't need to, and we don't need to get all fired up and start barking at them too or anything like that. And so it's something that is a nice habit, definitely a nice habit for them to just know, like, walk right by it and ignore. And I think it also makes those dogs react less because, we're just ignoring them. So they don't get anything out of it.
Sometimes, yeah. Today there was a little one barking at Max. He's the neighborhood like king for that. And Max was like, and he's not reactive. He didn't. Oh, I clarify, Max the bully. And we're getting back, and the little shit Sue's like that's firing off, and he's just like looking. I'm like, geez, man. And we just he didn't even react to that. He didn't even care. I'm pretty sure that before that would get him excited because he gets very excited when he sees other dogs, especially if they invite him for play. If they like, that he's gonna be like, yeah, what's up? I'm gonna play. He's like he's on it. But nice to see him make good decision. This was our first like real walk. Even though we were like mini walks, this was like long haul. We went on a nice, very long walk early this morning, so it went really good. And all that, even though I haven't had an opportunity to pattern, when I say no, he's already been patterned to follow what I say. So if it's no heel, well, I understand that. So no heel.
Yeah.
So even though we haven't technically, that's a pattern right there.
Yeah.
So let's see. Angelica, I'm trying to get Lola to stop counter surfing. Oh, Lola's coming in May. Golden Retriever. She's eaten a couple of my dinners already. How do you ladies work on getting them out of that habit? Reward her when she gets down? Well, that might be a little tricky because you might be rewarding her for jumping on the counter. Us, for example, we teach them on a lot of boundary. And when we teach them a lot of, I do, maybe Katie will put her input on it, but I teach them a lot of boundary at first. And so let's say she's like running out the door, counter surfing. I'm most likely going to work that boundary around those areas where she has issue. However, eventually, when she understands like the tools that I'm using, then there's a consequence for like jumping on the counter because that is dangerous. Like eating your dinner, she could eat a cooked bone, and the girl could get like a perforated stomach. You don't want that. It's going to cost you a lot of money to get into surgery. Charlie just had surgery for eating a rock. So it's kind of like we find what works. Sometimes those pet correctors work. That blows the air on that. Sometimes just a good prong collar correction will work on that. But that's really dangerous. Once the dog, once they learn boundaries, they make pretty good choices after that. So I don't go swinging on that right off the bat is what I'm trying to say. But eventually, like once that dog is at a certain point in their training, I will set that up and see if they do it. I've had dogs not do it who are major counter surfers. And I'm like, I think I let the camera roll for 10 minutes on Winter, that German Shepherd. and put it here on Facebook, let it roll. Like I put salami, you name it, on top of the counter. Never touched it once.
Mm-hmm.
Nala didn't either. Big counter surfer. So, I believe when she went home, she may have tried it once and got an e-collar correction for that. Never did it again. I'm referring to Winter. So it just depends on how you handle it, and don't let that, happen again, obviously. But she can get really hurt. Uh, if she eats something she's not supposed to. A grape can kill her. A couple grapes, maybe. I forget the amount, but those are dangerous. A cooked bone, very dangerous. You got any
Yeah.
input on that,
And
my
even,
friend?
a lot of dogs eat non-food items too, like foil and stuff that's on the counter, and bags. A lot of dogs actually have been dying from potato chip bags getting stuck over their heads when nobody's home, and
Yeah,
doesn't take that long for.
needs to. Did she write something else? No, I didn't see anything else.
Yeah, it's really, you want to, like, nobody likes the word, but you want to punish that behavior. So
Yeah.
it's not something we want our dog ever doing again, and you want to punish them for jumping up and starting to eat something off the counter. But then you also want to teach them an alternate behavior. So like Denise was saying, if you teach them something like place command, then when you're in a different room, your dog has a job. So they're not just wandering around like looking for the
Right.
next thing to get into. And, I think it's also partly our responsibility if you have dogs to kind of, I don't want to say like totally baby proof the house, but don't leave stuff that's like really tempting right there for them if you know your dog has a problem. I don't want to do that unless I set them up. If I'm going to leave the room and I know that I'm not going to be right there watching, then, be smart and put stuff away. But if you want to set them up so that you can catch them in the act and correct them, then obviously, set it up and leave it out. But, there's a million ways too. If you don't have like e-collar or something like that, you could do a can with pennies in it, and, that really loud noise, or like an air horn from another room. Or there's a lot of different ways that you can, come up with a solution to stop a dog from doing that. You don't want to be right there, because you want your dog to not associate the punishment with you at all. So if you can be in another room, it's better. But e-collar, of course, is like the best tool for it, because it has nothing to do with us. We're totally in the other room. We can be on a camera and watching the dog and just correct them for getting up on the counter. But
These trolls are gonna try me today with the damn angry faces. Oh well. Maybe it was an error. But
maybe.
yeah, that's the gist of it. Angelica, and if you're she's so young, yet still, but if she's not gonna be like under your immediate supervision, I would definitely put her up somewhere where she's safe, like her kennel. If you just want to avoid all that and you're not sure on how to, like address it and correct it, definitely, put her away and avoid it, or the stuff away, or her. I think you said she was chewing on stuff and everything. She's a young pup, so she's going to be tempted to do it for sure. She's not going to pass up on yummy food, especially if she's gotten a couple of rewards out of it. That's like high value. That's worth it. A few dinners, that's worth it. So, where were we before that one with the habits? I forgot. I think I talked about Max. I don't remember. Yeah, I think we left off on Max.
Yeah, with his walk.
Yeah.
So another thing I have written down is recall. So if you can do a
Welcome.
lot of of recall practice on a long line, it creates a habit for your dog that when they hear their name and they hear, the command, whether it's come or here or whatever you're using, that they have to come to you. They don't have any other choice. So if you use a long line, you have a way to get them to you every single time. That's a mistake that a lot of people make if they're trying to teach their dog, recall on their own, is they don't have the dog on a long line or some sort of leash. And then the dog ignores them and they, keep calling a few times and then they give up. So the dog doesn't have like that patterning down. So if you keep them on a leash and you kind of reel them in every single time, get them to where you want them, and then reward them, then you'll be creating a habit of them recalling to you. And like, it doesn't take that long if you just keep practicing it. Lots and lots of repetitions of it.
Yeah, you always bring that up, and that's always a good point that you always bring up when you allow them to make those choices. It's kind of like, oh, they get away with it, and people are like, "Come here, Fluffy, come here, Fluffy," and then just
Right.
like, oh, Fluffy just doesn't
Right.
know how to come here.
Right. And like shaking the bag of treats, let me get the bag of treats. And
Right here, pumping those likes. I love it. Hey, Josh.
so
Pump, 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 pump. uh,
so what else? You got anything else?
pump, pump, pump.
Any other
Elias says he loves that you said to leave the long line on. Yeah, she's really good at even reminding me. She's like, "Well, you had the long line on." The long line on is your trainer. That's like, that's your best friend. I always say that to my clients. That's your Denise, all in here. You always have Denise with you in the house. We need a trainer's retreat. We do. We do. We do. Italy, Hawaii.
Hawaii?
Hawaii.
So long line recalls. What other habits can we create for our dogs? Anybody else have any ideas?
Let's say, like, when I think about this, I think about it as like, what do you do on a daily basis, as a routine? So usually people like they get up, they let their dogs out. Most of them are not in kennels, but I make them like wait as a habit. Again, I stick to that. Waiting is a big deal. So I don't create that as soon as I get home, like I attend to the dog. The moment that it's the dog, creating that like,
Yeah.
not going crazy at the doorbell. So when the doorbell rings, the dog has something else to do.
Oh, he's saying doorbell go to place. So yeah, you can make that.
Yeah,
So
you
when your
can
dog
make that.
hears the sound of the doorbell.
Yeah. My dogs are quiet in whatever they're doing with the doorbell. They don't run towards the door. They just were never allowed to. So I guess you can make it to where they automatically, if they are, I guess he's saying if they are loose in the house, not in a command, for them to go into place, right?
Mm-hmm.
Laying down to greet people and kids. Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Going into an automatic down to greet people or kids. That's a good one. And you guys, that's Ryan Thomas with Practical Canine, and then Elias is in California, Structured Canine Training. In case you guys wanted to check them out and look at their stuff, these are people who've been in the game for a while, know what they're talking about clearly. So go follow them, check out their page. Let's see. I mostly target that indoor stuff because nobody's got control of their dogs inside the house. So that's they go totally bonkers. So yeah, doorbells is a big one. Clearly an easy way to create reactivity. They're like the guards of the house, and they're not only alerting, but they're firing off, and it's like nonstop. Uh, yeah. So if you do the opposite, your dog's gonna realize like you've got that under control. It's all about what you want. If you like that craziness and yeah, that and redirection, then they're gonna do that stuff on the leash too. That's half of the clients right there. All dogs, with doing reactions on the leash, which is what we call reactivity. It's a reaction. The dog is reacting to whatever. They see a person, grr or bark. They see a dog, grr or bark. And it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean that they're aggressive. It just means like, oh, I see a dog. And they form a habit. They do it, do it, do it, do it. That's it. That's what they do. In their mind, they take care of business. So that's a habit. That's a bad. We've got good and bad. So we've mostly named bad. Let's see. Other good habits. Wait, like again, deep waiting for food. I like that. That's a big one too for me. Do you talk about teaching alternative behaviors like focus, incompatible behaviors? At the top of the broadcast, Katie well, no, she just told one of the girls that had a counter surfing question. She said to teach an alternate behavior instead of the counter surfing, and then we were talking about like teaching a boundary like place or something. So focus instead of react, to teach that as a habit instead of react, right? With like the dog's name, Ryan, or with like another cue? Let's get specific. Basically, the dog can't do two things at once. It's either focused on you or reacting. Right. Or focused like staying into a heel, you mean? Or you want that dog like to clearly look up at you for direction each and every time. Like that? Oh, now we're talking French. Que?
Cue.
Oh, cue.
So, like I had Aussie here a couple weeks ago, and he was reactive. So I would correct his reactivity, but then, if I could get some eye contact from him, then I would reward him. And I didn't do it with really a cue. I would just make some sort of noise, like to try to get his attention. But I didn't do like, look or something like that. I didn't say a command. But yeah, you want the dog to eventually just start doing that, like start making eye contact with you instead of reacting. And that, that could be considered a habit too. Like, they see something that used to terrify them, and now instead they look at you and get the reward. So
yeah, for sure.
But
you got anything, Katie? I mean, it sounds like we got a good little list of stuff.
Yeah. The only other thing I had on my list was sleeping in the crate. I like to make that a habit for dogs, even older dogs. So not just, dogs that are housebreaking and that kind of stuff. I actually want dogs to sleep in the crate for, years. And it doesn't have to be every night, but it's a good idea to have that as a habit that they're used to doing, because when dogs, you never know what's going to happen. Like if you travel, a lot of times you might need to put your dog in a kennel. And when they get older, they also have medical problems, and a lot of times need to be crated if they've had like a surgery or something. And so it's a good idea if they're used to it and they know to just go there and go to sleep, then they won't be panicking. Because a lot of people, if they haven't crated their dog since it was a puppy, and then it ends up having medical problems when it's like 12 years old, yep, then the dog is having major anxiety on top of, being ill. or recovering from a surgery or whatever. So it's a good idea to make the crate and, you know, sleeping in the crate a habit for your dog, no matter what age it is. So,
The famous question, when can I stop using the kennel? And the, yeah, you want to always implement that kennel. That's a good one, Katie. Good
yeah.
one.
So, I mean, even like if you teach your dog to sleep on a dog bed, like next to your bed, it's still not the same. They can get up and they can move around. And if they really have to be on confinement for, you know, a medical issue or something, it's not going to be the same. And if you have to put them in a crate, it's not, you don't want to be dealing with the anxiety then. So.
Totally. I dig it. Got to give you the credit because you came up with that topic. Awesome topic. Not my idea. Totally Katie's. All right, you guys. That's Katie with Begging for Balance. Check her out on Facebook. And we're signing off. This is Denise with Family Canine Training. You guys, thanks for watching. Thanks to all the replay viewers. We will catch you next week. I don't know what juicy topic we'll have for next week, but we'll think of that, and we'll see you guys then. And yes, I will be on vacation, but yes, I will still do the Q&A.
Okay. Have a good night.
Night. Give a kissy to Moose for me.
Okay. He's sleeping
Thanks,
right now.
Thanks for
Okay. Bye.
He's going to get out of here, right?